Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press, with myself, Ty. We've obviously got the older and wiser Kristian with us, who's just turned 40. Wow, big 4-0. I bet you never thought he'd be co-hosting a podcast at the age of 40, did you?
No. I prefer to think of it as leveling up to level 4. I think that's what Charlotte said. She said, "Welcome to the fourth floor," and I prefer that over 40. Honestly, the amount of depressing cards I received, the amount of depressing messages, like you're over the hill at 40. Like there's no more excitement. Of course, you obviously got it all to look forward to in the next few months. But yeah, I feel better. Fitter, stronger. Well, not fitter. I don't know what I'm on about there. I'm not quicker. I'm stronger, more intelligent. I think there is life beyond 40. I'm hoping so anyway.
Of course there is. Yeah, for those of you that have just accidentally clicked onto us or thought, "Oh, I like the sound of this podcast," we talk about football. That's pretty much the only thing we talk about. So if you don't subscribe to us, if you don't follow us, go on, do that thing. Subscribe, like, share it with your friends and family. You never know, they might actually like it as well. Yeah. So you want to know what today's podcast is going to be about? Well, it's obviously, we're in July, which is any season you look at, it's mad transfer season in it. And
crazy season.
This season and this current July, I feel it's got more drama than normal. There's obviously been some huge signings by the big two, but we're just going to sort of focus more on the general sort of transfers that are going on in the league, and then there's obviously be quite a big part of Man United just simply because of the players they've signed, the players they haven't signed, the players that are currently there and just causing absolute drama for them. So we're going to kick it off with we'll leave the main one for a bit later, but we'll just kick it off with Cristian Eriksen. So Chris, he's obviously been at. So he obviously, he nearly died. There's no way to put it. He did die, didn't he? And they sort of, resuscitated him last year at the Euros. When I remember when it happened, that tweet, I said, the only thing I want from this Euros, regardless of what, is just for him to be alive. So obviously he managed to, he came back around and he survived. And then he went back to Inter, which was the club he was at. So the issue with it was, in Italy, they've got a rule that once you've got some sort of heart problem, you can't play professional football in Italy. Well, that rule doesn't apply in England. So he obviously went back, trained with his with its local team in Denmark. Brentford, obviously through Thomas Frank, that connection they've got, they asked him to come and train at Brentford. He trained, he got himself in a position where he could play in the first team. And he played in the first team and he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. Yep. It was like he'd never been away. Now we're obviously, but it was a short-term contract. We're now obviously in his contract's up, and there's loads of clubs sniffing around, namely Man United. And recently, it's just been confirmed that he's agreed a deal in principle with Man United. As in football, unless he's actually got a Man United top on, and it's been confirmed, you just don't know. But it looks like it's pretty much going there. So Eriksen to Man United, what are your thoughts? Because we mentioned it, we were talking about who could do the playing, and we thought it'd not be bad at a shot, but he don't fit into our strategy, into our recruitment philosophy of how we buy players, the age we buy them at, and how we look at them. So Eriksen to Man United, thoughts?
A great move for the player. It's a great move for. Right. I remember last couple of weeks we said it'd be a great signing. It'd be a great signing for Liverpool and all that. But now that he's signed for Man United, it's crap. I think it's such a bad move. He's going to do absolutely awful for them, and I don't see him fitting into their system. No, quite the contrary, actually. I'm a little bit gutted that he signed for United. I like him as a player, and now it's going to kill me to actually not want him to do well. Obviously, wish him nothing but the best with his health and everything like that. But as Liverpool fans, we do not want him to succeed. Not just him, just the team in general. I think it's a good signing for United. Brentford, he done really well last season. He was obviously one of the key performers towards the end of the season. But the question is, can he do it in a Man United team that's essentially rebuilding? And I think was it Tottenham got rid of him essentially because of his work rate wasn't at what it should be for the Premier League. He since then went on to Inter. He done decent, from what I understand, and not pulling up too many trees. But then he's obviously had the injury, the illness, and then he's came back to Manchester United, who essentially look like they're about to go into like some kind of a pressing game under Ten Haag. I just don't know how that player fits that mold. As good a player as he is, I just don't see how that player fits into that mold when you consider that Bruno Fernandes is going to be a starter. Then you're going to have Cristian Eriksen. I just don't see how it fits. But it is a good sign, and they've got a good player.
I think we don't really know how many guys are going to play. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
You're saying about, it's going to be a pressing team. And
I've watched a couple of the training sessions, obviously the media training sessions, and it does look heavy. I know you maybe just picking at things, but it does look like a heavy pressing game, as you think like a Klopp and Guardiola do. But we don't know yet.
No, I think that's going to be the proof of the pudding, it really, in the first game and how the plan is set up. You'd imagine it's going to be pressing, but I think Cristian Eriksen, I mean, let's just, I don't know if you watched the Mourinho documentary. I don't think it was he didn't fit in working. I think he was in the last year's contract and they wanted some money and were interested, so they got a bit of money for him. But in terms of how he fits into Man United, I mean, I think it's an interesting point. You've got Eriksen, who's not really a defensive midfielder, which is obviously I think they've been crying out for a while. I'd probably say maybe an 8, maybe a 10. He could probably play in either one of those positions. And then you got Fernandes, who probably was more of a 10, and his work rate is non-existent. Now, if you've got both of those, and there's obviously, it looks like Frenkie de Jong as well. That's probably another one we're going to talk about in a bit. So you've got Frenkie de Jong as well, who potentially comes in, and you've got those three. Now, I'd imagine all those three want to start, unless he's looking at rotating, maybe playing 2 of the 3. And then you're looking at your holding midfielders and who you're going to play. It looks like it's still going to be a Federer and McTominay there. They obviously looks like they're going to get rid of players as well, and players are moving on. But the Eriksen one, I think, it's such a low risk signing in that it's a
no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. It's going to, even if it was tips up, they'll probably sell him and make profit. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's that bad sign at all. I think just overall, it was really interesting to see how he sets up, and it looks like he might end up playing 4-3-3 with a flat 3 in the middle, maybe with a 1 holder and 2 8s. Obviously, before they've been looking at the 4-2-3-1. I think it looks like the players and the way he's playing maybe the 4-3-3. But again, we're all guessing at the moment now. We don't know how it's going to set up when the season starts. So Eriksen, I think we both agree will be it's a no-brainer. It's not going to be a bad signing at all.
I think he'll be good against the lower teams. When you can afford to maybe play both him and Bruno together. When it comes to the likes of City, Liverpool, Chelsea, you're not going to play both of those because you're going to get overrun in midfield.
The other really good thing about it is you've got a player coming in who knows the league inside out.
Yes,
and that is just he's not starting from the standing start, is he? Do you know what I mean? He's already well into the league. He understands the fixture. You understand the Christmas period. Obviously, it's slightly different this time around with the World Cup. But I think it's going to be a really, really good signing. I think moving on, I've mentioned it anyway, Frenkie de Jong, so it looks like they're back and forth and they're almost there. But again, I think that's probably a bit further away than the Eriksen one. Obviously a top player. But again, my initial thoughts like you, it's almost like there's no long-term, we've always said this about, since we started, there's no long-term strategy in terms of recruitment because they're buying players that the manager wants, not the club wants, and looking forward. So you've got, he knows Eriksen's worked with Frenkie de Jong. He's bought a left back that he knows. Do you know what I mean? So he's buying all these players that he knows, but there's not any. I mean, if he gets sacked by the end of what they're going to do with these players, they're obviously going to have to stay, but then you're starting again from where you are. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I think, you get Eriksen, Frenkie, you get Eriksen, de Jong, and Fernandes. There's not a tackle between all three, is there?
No.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of.
It's a lightweight midfield, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's not a particularly high pressing midfield. So I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't have to be physically strong to play. I mean, Man City have got, they had a team full of Bernardo Silvas who were ratting everywhere. And you turn him into a technical player or like a pressing machine. So it is slightly, I'd say crazy, but it's not crazy because it's Man United and it's part of the course. But I'm just interested to see how how it all pans out in that first game of the season. It sounds like it's really interesting, and it's cool. So what you just I throw it back at you. What your thoughts on the old?
De Jong is a typical United signing, and I don't mean that in like, you know, that he's a bad player. He's a brilliant player. He's a very good technical player. He's the type of player that they do need. However, they're buying a player that isn't sold on the idea of going there. He's going there to pick up a pay package, and that's the only reason he's going to be on there. I think I've seen maybe 3-4 interviews where he's saying, I don't want to move. I want to stay here at Barcelona and fight for my position. Now, if you don't have a player that wants to move to you at Man United, then move on. You've got to move on. You can't be bringing these players in. You know, I'm not going to say he's a mercenary, because the fact is he wants to stay and play. But if a club's pushing you out, then you're going to think, right, financial. If there's not a club that's coming in for me, Champions League, and offering me the same amount of money, then I'm going to go to the next bit, the highest bidder, essentially. And that's another thing that kind of not concerned me. He didn't have the greatest of seasons last year. Partly due to the fact that Pedri and Gavi and the likes, they had a great season, but he couldn't seem to break in what was essentially an average Barcelona team all the way through the season. And towards the back end, they started picking up when Xavi started implementing his style and that. But the fact that Barcelona don't want him, the fact that no other club has come in for him, because I guarantee if one of the Chelseas of the world, or a Champions League club, maybe even Tottenham, for example, if someone like that comes in and playing Champions League football, or one of the Italian teams, I think he would choose them over Manchester United at this moment in time, just because of where they're at. Essentially, he's passing up the next couple of years of his career for a rebuilding process, and he's in the best years of his life.
No, it's an interesting point you make about that at Barcelona. I think Barcelona, obviously, they need to get him because they need money. But I think more than the money as well, he doesn't get in the starting 11 now. You've got Busquets, Pedri and Gavi, but they've also got Frenkie from AC Milan on a free transfer, who was phenomenal, by the way, in Milan win the league. So he's gone because of Xavi. So they've almost got him. They've got Sergio Roberto who can play him there as well. So it's not like they need him. It's almost like getting him. We can pick up 70 million for him, and that'll sort of help us maybe get another player in and help our finances as well. So I think at some point they will get rid of him. He doesn't want to go, obviously, because it's a drop down in quality and club and competition you're playing in. There's obviously players that just want to play in Champions League, which we'll move on into a second. But it's a big pull at the moment, Champions League. Man United are not the big club that they used to be, and I think they're a good few years away from that. There's no club. I think other players have seen this cycle before. New manager comes in, they'll try buy people in, they'll get sacked. New manager comes in, and it just keeps on going and going. So they've not seen any sort of sustained success for any period of time. So I can see the reservations he's got with the club.
I would say that United are a couple of years away from Champions League football.
They're not breaking the top four. So we mentioned Tottenham in a bit, but their recruitment has been unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? So Man United have got big issues here, you know what I mean? So they're getting these players, great, but if you ask me, is that really going to help them break the top four? I don't know. So moving on to the next one, the main bit about Man United anyway, is Mr. Ronaldo.
Yeah.
So it looks like he wants to leave. He's had enough. He's looked at the team and he's pretty much saying what we're saying. They're not good enough to challenge for the league. They're not good enough. Well, I think anyone knew that. They're not good enough to finish in the top four to get the Champions League. You don't want to play in the Europa League. And it's who Ronaldo is. I mean, as much as people say, he doesn't really care about any club. Ronaldo cares about himself, and that's it. And if you probably say that to me, he'll probably agree with you as well. Because all he wants to do is, this records and all this and all that. So you kind of saw that last season as well in moments where he was throwing his arms up and giving off a really bad vibe to the rest of the team. So you just sort of feel that with him around there. There's obviously Man United fans saying, I had hate for him to go and stuff. And there's obviously some saying, if he goes, he goes. I think there's an issue here. He obviously wants to leave. I think the bigger issue with it, he wasn't up front with Ten Haag early on before he signed and joined to sort of say, I'm going to leave in the summer so Man United could look for a centre forward. But
But did he? I'm thinking, is it a case of what you just said there, or is it a case of Ronaldo's looked at who's coming in and the fact that they've struggled to bring anybody in, where he's like, I'm changing my mind here. This is not going how I thought it was going. Maybe it was a case of, right, this summer we're going to be signing X, Y, and Z. We're going to push on. We're going to do this. You've got a new manager coming in who has a certain style of play, and he came in. He's seen how much he's seen Man City sign Erling Haaland. He's seen Liverpool respond with Núñez. He's seen them wrap up their business early. He's seen Calvin Phillips just going straight away, and he's seen Man United struggle to bring in players that are not from Ajax. So, essentially, and they're struggling to bring in not a second rate, it's harsh, but a player that couldn't get into Barcelona's first team, a struggling Barcelona team. So it could be a bit about that as well. Like, I do agree with you that he's probably had this in his mind, and he should have let him know if he did have this in mind. But it could be a fact that, he doesn't see them progressing, and he can't afford to be spending what's still his prime years. He's beyond his prime, let's say that, but he is still Champions League elite level striker. You know what I mean? So he's already wasted one season. He's thinking, I need to be. Ronaldo is all about himself, like you just said, and he wants to continue to break records. And he's seeing Messi in Champions League and all that, and it depletes his brand, if anything, by being in the Europa League. He needs to be at the pinnacle, and that's where he sees himself. As for his loyalties to United, I think he's essentially about as loyal as what maybe a foreign player could be to another club. I don't think you can essentially be too loyal. There are a few out there. However, I just think that he doesn't really owe United anything after the first stint. He came as a young kid, them a lot of money. And then he did come back, but the reality is, I don't think he owes them anything to stay there. He came back, he delivered on his promise, and the fact is they haven't lived up to what he...
I mean, if we sort of rewind back to last season as well, when he came, I think anyone and some really respected journalists he was going to Man City. Man United realised we can't have him going there. Man United offered him more money and ended up there. That's just it. If he had any sort of loyalty or love for Man United, you won't be standing for a rival team. You know what I mean? I can't think of any sort of Liverpool players that would have gone. Man United are our biggest rivals. And Liverpool players leave Liverpool to go to Man United. I just couldn't see it. Especially a legend of ours. You know what I mean? So I don't think maybe someone like Torres or Suarez. The Man United. I can see him go to other Premier League clubs, but not Man United. And I think Man United have obviously got Man City and Liverpool. They're the two for Man United. And for for Ronaldo to be looking to jump ship and go, it doesn't surprise me. He's a guy who's always sort of looking out for the best, for his own self-worth. And then obviously there's not even rumours. His George Mendes, his agent's been having chats with Ted Bowley, the new Chelsea owner, to see if there's anything there. There's rumours of conversations being had with Barcelona as well. And it wouldn't surprise me. We talk about a player being loyal to the club. He's played for Man United and Real Madrid for most of his career, and the two biggest rivals, both of them, are Man City and Barcelona. And it just shows he would happily go there as long as it sort of keeps his brand in the limelight and he's able to play Champions League football. So I think that just says a lot about the guy. Absolutely no doubt about his ability, but I wouldn't be able to. I'd never, for Messi, if we use Messi as an example, you'd never see him ever wanting to go to
Real Madrid,
in a billion years. It just wouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? So that's just how some people, how he's built and how he wants to sort of. I think he's realised, 37, he's only got probably a couple of years.
I think if an agreement, it's never going to happen, but I think if an agreement could be made with Man City, he'd go there in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think absolutely. If he could go to any Champions League club, I think he'd go.
Yeah, I think obviously Sir Alex, I do think that does have a lot of pull. That would have had a lot of pull on him. The call from him. He's never going to reject a call from Sir Alex, and as soon as he gets you on the phone, you're not going to. It's going to do things to your mind where you're just going to be like, right, yeah, I'll stay with United. If they can match my wages, I'll I'll stay with United. But it'd be interesting to see where he does move. Like, I'm wondering if I'm a Barcelona fan and signing Ronaldo, like, is that something that I would want? Does it taint my, Messi support in life? He's still a legend there. Obviously,
I'm not seeing it from that angle, but you're right. That would be absolutely bonkers.
Obviously, PSG, they can bend fair play, FIFA fair play however they wish. So, there's still a chance that dream scenario does come into fruition. Maybe Mbappe's got some good plans to bring Ronaldo there. You don't really know. The only thing that, I'm thinking Bayern, it could have been potentially been something if they hadn't signed Sadio Mane already. So that's another. The only reason I'm thinking Bayern is the leagues where he hasn't already conquered. The leagues that he hasn't already won. Like we say, Ronaldo's all about himself. He will want to continue to break records, and what better way to do it than go to either France or Germany and win the leagues with them as well, to say that he's the only player that ever did that. So it'll be interesting to see where he go. If your money is on somewhere, I'm going to go with Chelsea. If your money was on him going anywhere, where would it be?
I think the first thing is there are obviously a few clubs that would want him. And obviously everyone would want him. What I mean by that is would want. Let me rephrase that. There's a few clubs that could afford him, and that's the angle you've got to look at. So Chelsea, absolutely. PSG, absolutely. I don't know why the Barcelona, because they're supposed to be skinned, so I don't know how that would work. But the Chelsea one, yes, couple of years, because they've obviously got the Lukaku and what they're getting for the loan fee for that, and probably cover his wages, probably maybe pay 2 months of his wages, to be fair. But you've just, it's a tough one. I could even see PSG, and it's just one of those, football's such a mad place where you get players going to clubs you just wouldn't expect. But no, it's a tough one. If you put, I'd probably say I could see PSG. I could just because of the money, financial side of it.
Do you see any way he leaves the top level? So MLS, for example.
No, I don't, because I think it's the Man United. Because they're probably still at second, maybe even third tier at the moment, aren't they? I wouldn't. No, I think that's probably further, maybe 2 or 3 years. So I think he'll keep going in Europe till at 40, because from all the reports and his physique's unbelievable, and he trains like the best of them, and I think he'll be absolutely fine. He's obviously his role and the way he plays the games. Obviously, he's had to adapt, and it's changed over the years. Now he's just an old-fashioned number 9. Obviously, who's brilliant. As opposed to when you look at him from the start, he used to be very much sort of a left winger, didn't he? But no, I think it's going to be an interesting few weeks before the start of the season. And I'd even say I could see him starting for Man United and then gone by the end of August. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes at the moment. The fact that he said, I don't want to play here, I want to be here next season, I think for me, that's it. I think he's gone. He's not, for him to be like, he said to agent, I'm gone. There was obviously, I think yesterday or the day before when he didn't turn up to training and he used family excuse.
Yes.
Turning up, do you know what I mean? So I think when you start, he's basically Saido Berra, isn't it?
Exactly.
He's just doing that all over again, but one of the greats of all time.
Exactly, and it will be interesting. So obviously that's Manchester United done with. Obviously they signed a left back, but I don't really. I think it's a left back. I don't really know a great deal about him. So
he's like the proper bargain basement shopping. I think that 30-40 million is
for
fine out of there. So Tyreek something I think it is, but obviously it gives him a bit of again, I don't understand it. You've got Luke Shaw and Alex Telles. Like, do you need another left back? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I've never seen him play. I've got no ideas. Ten Haag said he's one of the best left backs in the Dutch league. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what the standard of the Dutch league left backs are. So we'll see. I'll see how that works out for him. But it's not a position that I thought would have been a priority or something. What does that mean? Did he get rid of Luke Shaw or Telles? I don't know. I just think there's nothing. Like I said, there's no clear strategy with the recruitment side of Man United. Well, I said the whole club, but especially the recruitment side.
And that's a worrying thing about United. It is a massive overhaul, and he's not got long to do it now. I think we're about a month away from the start of the season, with the early start, and they're struggling at this point. Soon they'll be going on tour, and then it's going to take time to implement new players. And in that time, obviously, they've got to get rid of players, to offset some cost, I suppose. It's going to be an interesting time for United.
So swiftly moving on from a club that's not going great to a club who I think have done the best bit of business I've ever known them to do. I'm not talking about just getting straight on with it. It's Spurs.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason behind that as well. They've got a director of football, Fabio Petrici, is his surname?
Yeah.
Used to be in Serie A, and obviously really close with Anotonio Conte. He played a big part in getting Conte over. Now, when Daniel Levy said at the end of the season, we've got this amount of money to invest in, I don't know how he worded it, invest in the club's ongoing operations. He worded it in such a sort of businessman-like way where you can sort of, people thought signings, but people thinking probably, renovating, upkeep of the stadium or whatever it was. So he's bought players. He's bought some top players, and their signings have been really, really good. Do you know what I mean? So Kulusevski, obviously, has been there from Bentancur from before. So they bought in Yves Bissouma, one of the best in the league. What a signing at 25 million. And then they've nabbed Richarlison as well for 60 million. Do you know what I mean? Who, for once, they've got a player that can play anywhere across the front three. But I think more important than anything else, he can cover for Kane when he's out because he can play as a 9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think they've always had 9s who have been like really poor quality because they'd only play 1 or 2 games for Kane when he's not playing or when he's out injured. And the drop-off's been huge. Whereas with Richarlison, I don't think that drop-off will be as big. So the signings are well on it. And obviously there's the Jed Spence stuff, which they negotiate. It looks like they're going to get there at some point. They're going to get it. And they got Perisic in as well, didn't they? So they've gone bang, 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 got 4 or 5 players that are starters now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, then the other bit as well is Daniel Levy is brilliant at what he does, but he's an absolute bell end because I know people that know him and how he deals as a businessman. But he's unbelievably good in getting top value for really shit players. So Dele Alli, 40 million. Harry Winks, they're looking at around 30 million. I mean, I'm like, I don't get it. Now we both get, I think everyone gets the English tax. If you've got an English name, if you're from England and you've got some sort of Premier League experience, you can add 20 million on your name. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And people will pay it. So you've got that, Harry, and I just think it's just they've done brilliant, really. And we were talking about who's going to come top 4. I mean, obviously the top two, and I think Chelsea have got a fight for 3rd and Spurs. I think Spurs could overtake them as they are because they finished like a house on fire towards the end of the season, and they've got one of the best managers in the world. Conte is better than Tuchel. Do you know what I mean? And now there's a team, and he's got his ideas across. And we mentioned it on the last podcast about Stevie G coming in and he's got a full pre-season. Now Conte's had a full pre-season as well, and he's got his players in early. So I think Spurs are going to be a real danger, and I think they're going to do really well this season. And I think I can see them going far in the Champions League as well.
Do you remember when there was rumours of Conte going to United? Like, just judging by how he's operated so far, like they missed that. They missed a massive trick. If you think of the signings that they've done, you've just reeled them off there. Put them into the United team. They're looking a hell of a lot stronger already. It was
Solskjaer was in charge at the time, wasn't he? But he'd not gone, and they didn't know if they were going to get rid of him. And then they were umming and ahhing, and then Gary Neville, I like him, but I mean, it was absolutely short. Conte doesn't fit in at the Man United way. I mean, Man United way is dead and buried. What was it? It's like Liverpool.
4-4-2.
It's like Liverpool going Liverpool way or pass and move. I mean, it's dead and buried. In 2022, the game's changed. It's moved on. It's evolved. You know what I mean? He doesn't fit in. He's not a Man United type manager. I mean, what is a Man United type manager? You've had Fergie, and after that, Fergie's a once in a lifetime thing. It's not going to happen again. Now you've just got to go for the best in class, and unfortunately you're going for a manager who managed in mould and a guy who's managed in Dutch league. With that's it. So you can't. And then he's arguing, we can't get Conte because we've tried the Mourinho and Van Gaal. Mourinho and Van Gaal were both on the way down. They weren't the best of the best. Conte is the best of the best. They've massively cocked up there. And me as a Liverpool fan, I'm over the moon because they would have been a real threat for us, because he'd have got that club in order, right? You know what I mean? Everyone was thinking the same shit. They would have been a real danger to everyone in that league.
Yeah, they couldn't afford to gamble with this appointment, and essentially they're doing it again. And we could go into it a million times over where United are and how far we think they are, but essentially they've missed out on a quality manager. Like we say time and time again, the best teams get their business done early, like preparation. They get the players in, they get them into the systems that they want to put into place, and by the time the season starts, you're pretty much firing. You give them the best chance to succeed. Whereas reality, United are doing the exact opposite. But they just identified exactly where they needed to improve, and then he's brought in the players. I don't know if you mentioned another one, Fraser Foster. Like that's a great signing. He's a good keeper, and we both think Hugo Lloris, could potentially be one that could be replaced in long term. But even then, that's competition for him now as well. So Tottenham are on the way up, and I do expect them to pull up. I'm not going to say they're going to challenge for the league. I'm going to say that they're going to put up a fight up until about Christmas. Start well and maybe fall away. That type of thing. But for them, that would be a great season, even just to get into February time in the title race. Obviously, they've got Champions League now. They've got the squad to essentially compete. They can rest a couple of players and still bring in that quality. So I don't think that's the end for Tottenham. I
think there might be another signing there. We obviously mentioned Jed Spence. I can see him getting one more player in. I think there was talk of a centre half as well, so it'll be interesting to see where they go. Just before we wrap it up, I want to have a quick your views on a couple of signings. I say three signings actually, and they involve Man City and Arsenal. Players have signed and players have released. Firstly, Calvin Phillips going Man City from Leeds. We talk about. I just spoke about the English tax. I think they've got him at an absolute bargain price for what he is, 45 million, 50 million. Do you know what I mean? I was expecting more like 70, 75 just because of the English tax and how every other club would. But Man City do business really well. You know what I mean? And I think it's not too surprising. The two best teams in the league, but the best teams, but they've got the best recruitment strategy as well.
Yeah.
So you look at Calvin Phillips going to Man City from Leeds. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think he'll do?
Yeah, it surprises me on both accounts. It surprises me that they got him so cheap. When you think in comparison to Declan Rice, Declan Rice is a good player, but he's not a million miles away from Calvin Phillips. And essentially,
I would argue Phillips is better as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what they call him, the Yorkshire Pillow. Yeah. So, I think that the tout and Declan Rice at 150 million. If that is the case, let's say in a fabricated world that is the case, Calvin Phillips has got to be 100+ million. If that's the case, they're not too far apart. On the other hand, it surprises me that City went for that type of a signing. You would argue Fernandinho wasn't necessarily a City, pretty technical type player, but the fact is Fernandinho is a very good one-touch footballer. He doesn't hold on to the ball. He just knows when to release it, and he knows to give it to the better players. Now, for Calvin Phillips in England, it's going to be absolutely amazing learning experience to learn from Guardiola. It's going to be a true eye-opener. You really I suppose Bielsa. He is highly rated, so I can't really say that he's never been managed by a top manager before, but he's never been in a top team before. And that's where I see him potentially struggling. I just cannot see how he fits into that team. And as a Liverpool fan, I know 50 million is chump change to City, but in reality, it's not a signing that improves them. And for me, that's why I'm happy that he went to them. There could have been a number of players which would essentially improve their squad, not necessarily the first 11 for 50 million, but I just don't see how he improves them.
I agree with pretty much everything you said. But just a point for our listeners, Calvin Phillips, when he was 12, so we're talking 2011. I watched him. I was a scout for Middlesbrough at the time, and obviously we went to watch Leeds School Cup final. He played in that game. He wasn't signed, and I spoke to the teacher literally after about a couple of minutes. I mean, Ball, I think it was about a minute into the game. Ball came to him and launched him. He touched it dead out of the sky, touched it, and he pinged it across to the left wing. And I went over to the manager straight away. And I sometimes just have a feeling, and I watched him for the rest of the best player on the pitch. And I spoke to the teaching manager. I said, "Is he with the club?" He said, "No, but this other lad is." And I was like, got his details. He said, "Oh, his parents are here, or his mum's here even." So I went over his mum and I got a number, and I was going to get our academy manager to ring him and follow it up. I left about 2 months later, never followed it up. And I spoke to the academy. I said, did they ever get in touch with you? That she must have gave me a wrong digit or a wrong number, and it never happened. And literally, it must have been about 5 or 6 years later, and I saw him Calvin Phillips playing for, and the name just sort of, when I saw him, I was like, "That's him."
Jesus.
And it was like a big sort of, you got money for players making a scholarship, signing a pro contract, obviously playing for England and all that jazz as well. And then Leeds obviously picked him up later on, but I saw him before he was at a club, and yeah, Atta was actually with us, so he could, he was with me.
Are you saying
it's not a made up story, but no.
Are you saying my hometown club could have had Calvin Phillips, England international?
Yeah, it could have done it. But to be fair, I think the mum might have given me a wrong number, but a wrong digit or something. She was over the moon, but it is what it is. But no, I agree with everything you've just said. I think Calvin Phillips is an interesting one. It's like, where does he fit in? You know what I mean? Yeah, but you never know. With Guardiola's probably got some wacky ideas of where to play. Maybe play him centre half. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Anything that he does. Just going to move on now to Arsenal. They made a couple of signings. I'm just going to give you my view before I ask you to come in. Firstly, Gabriel Jesus, I think, is a top signing for them. I think really good. Obviously, he'll be there sort of long term. Again, they've got him at a really good price. The other one's a Fabio Vieira. I don't know why they've signed him. It's like he's a number 10. He's a white. You know what I mean? You've got
million tens.
You've got 4 brilliant players in them positions. You've got Martinez, Smith, Martin, Odegaard, and Saka. Why do you need another one? Do you know what I mean? Surely you're looking to get maybe a defensive midfielder or some cover defensively. Even if you got another striker, I'd be like, right, okay, you've got Jesus another. And Ketty's not that level. Do you know what I mean? So they're my views. Anyway, what are yours?
No, it's like we're synced in our thoughts. Like, Gabriel Jesus is absolutely he's brilliant. I've always rated. I wouldn't mind him at Liverpool, to be honest. If we didn't already have the quality that we had, he always seems to perform well against us. He always gives you 110%. But he doesn't just have that. He has like technical ability. He is the first player in about 4 years to dribble past Virgil van Dijk. So he is a really top sign. And again, that for me, I don't see how there wasn't more clubs interested in him. Obviously Man City felt comfortable enough to let him go to a rival. But for the player, I just don't understand where he benefits from that. He's essentially going from Champions League quality to Man City, maybe has a bit of a connection to Guardiola, Arteta, but yeah, I just don't understand that signing. But it's fantastic signing.
Yeah, I think the pull for me, looking obviously on sports, is the fact that he'll be playing regularly. He plays down the middle. There was rumours sort of put about that he prefers playing out wide. I don't get it. I don't think so.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to interject before you make your next point. I've never ever known a player that would say I'd rather play on the right or the left than play in the centre. There is no player that says that. They're just trying to get into the team. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think he's obviously going to play down the middle. There's obviously that link with Arteta as well. And I think there's another one as well that's probably been overlooked. Edu, obviously Brazilian, and there's some sort of relationship in there. There's Gabriel Martinelli, there's Gabriel Megales, the centre half. So there's all the Gabriels from Brazil that are there.
On the London side of things.
London, it's all, there's a Brazilian connection as well. There's obviously them two being in his ear as well. So it's not just dropping down. I mean, there's obviously dropping. You drop that, you leave Man City, you dropping down, wherever you go. Yeah. So it's not like a huge issue in terms of dropping down. But I think there's obviously the conversations would have been had before this summer as well, so he knew that this was in the pipeline because the rumours were going around before. Yeah. I think like I said, I think it'd be a class signing for them, and I think teams would be getting him in their fantasy Premier League team, won't they?
Yeah, they were speaking about is it Martinez? Lisandro Martinez. So United
United.
So it looks like they're interested in a centre half. Obviously, they got Ben White for 50 odd million, so they see him as a replacement. Gabriel, how do you see him going forward? Because he was one of the big signings. So if you, yeah,
I think he'll be fine. I think he just needs. I think they probably need another centre half cover, just because when them two aren't playing, they've got Rob Holding, who's like a massive drop off. You know what I mean? So it's probably sort of thinking in terms of, well, who can I get in there just in case if someone doesn't. You look at all the top clubs; they've generally got at least 3 top centre halves, and I don't already have that. So it's probably looking at that way.
Yeah, as I understand it, Martinez plays. He can play centre back, or he can play as he normally plays as a holding midfielder more than anything. But like then you've got Thomas Partey. So again, I don't know where that.
I think Thomas Partey and him would be fine. They've obviously kept El Neni on, and they got Xhaka again. I mean, I think
he's got to go.
Yeah, those question marks will always be around him. You know what I mean? He's always got a red card in him or a reckless mistake. So So what about Fabio Vieira? Thoughts on him?
Yeah, again, not the worst player. He's actually a good player, but like you, they've already got quality in that position. That is the last place that you need to be improving upon in that team. You know, Arsenal have always had an abundance of them players, but they've never really got it right when it comes to the functional players in the team. You know, like Milner's, Henderson's, those type of players that are gonna. When the going gets tough, those are the type of players. You can forever have your Ozils and your luxury players, and that's essentially what you're bringing in again. And it's all going to look pretty until you come up against Man City, until you come up against Liverpool, until you come up against Chelsea and Tottenham. So for me, it's a wrong signing. It's not something that they should be going for, but Arteta knows best, apparently.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that just about wraps this particular podcast up, and as always, there's a question of the day, and I have got a question of the day.
Good.
I'm not going to throw it at Chris and throw him under the bus. The man just turned 40. You know what I mean? Don't want to.
Can't think.
So, question of the day is going to be around Ronaldo. So, do you think Ronaldo is a player who only thinks about himself? Obviously, it looks, we spoke about it before. Obviously, it looks like he wants out, and the conclusion Man United aren't up to much, and they're not good enough for him. So, simple as that. Is Ronaldo selfish?
Is Ronaldo a traitor?
Is Ronaldo selfish? Not around food. He'll share his food, but when it comes to club and thinking sort of longevity, he's not happy to sort of stay there and stay. Does he only think about himself? Okay. Let us know, comments, questions down below. We do respond to absolutely everything. And we always say this, you've got this far in the podcast, and you're not subscribed to us, do us a favour, subscribe, like it and share it. Definitely share it if you come this far, because we're good. And when we're rich and famous, we will remember you, okay? So until next time, guys.
See you later, guys.
Next one.
Bye.